Hello everyone and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and the Sharks have just responded in the perfect fashion, beating Pumas 42 points to 19, another high scoring match within the Super Rugby Unlocked, and just the perfect sort of response from the Sharks. And we're going to sort of break down the game a little bit further now, but before we do, please do consider subscribing, bottom right hand corner there, smash like as well if you enjoyed the video, jump in the comments, let me know what you thought of the performance, which players stood out, and what you took away from the game. And I think what I took away from the game is the Pumas, not necessarily hard done by, but the Sharks lived off the Pumas' mistakes. And I think, it's a game where it was the team that was the most clinical to come away with it, because the Sharks made the opportunities count. The Pumas had lots of opportunities to get back into the game and to get into the game initially, but just couldn't make the opportunities count. And I think their first half was very, very poor, and the Sharks exploited that very, very well. I mean, you look at the first and even the second try, it's sort of very soft tries to concede, especially the Madosh Tambwe try, where Devin Williams kicked ahead and there was a poor chase, and Tambwe literally had the time coming off the left wing, he was in the centre of the field to sort of assess it, look, spot space out wide, ran around the Pumas defence, and just waltzed in for a try. It was criminal, absolutely criminal. That was so easy for him to do so. And I think that just sort of spoke about the game as a whole, where the Pumas were just very poor, and they had opportunities, but they just weren't clinical. And the Sharks were very good in that they took their chances. And I think an area which they just completely dominated the Pumas was the pack. And, lots of driving mauls. I mean, Karen from Fury came off the bench and scored a brace just off two of driving mauls. And I think that's what, whenever the going got tough for the Sharks, whenever the Pumas started to grow into the game, they managed to find an ability to be able to set up a really good set piece and use that driving maul and just sort of pin the Pumas back. And every single time the Pumas tried to get back into the game, the Sharks managed to sort of hit back and put the game to bed. There was a bit of a stage where it looked like the Pumas were going to give them a bit of a scare. And then, as I said, the Sharks managed to set up a really good lineout and use the force of their pack to get them over. But I think Jimmy Stonehouse will be a very frustrated coach, because if the Pumas were just a little bit better, made some better decisions, didn't drop balls and just sort of basics, they could have been in that game. And it's again, we're still seeing a pretty sloppy, very open sort of game of rugby, which makes it, as I said, it makes for decent viewing in terms of being high scoring games. We talked about 90 points last night, 60 points here today. In the first match, although we still got the Bulls and the Stormers to come. But, the high-scoring games. And, look, there's two ways to look at it. You can be quite negative and say the defenses are pretty poor and stuff like that. But it is quite nice to see high-scoring games. There's nothing worse than watching 80 minutes of rugby and a team wins, 7-3. It's horrible to watch. So it's nice to see some running rugby. It's nice to see good tries. And we did see some very, very nice tries. So I think it was a game where the Sharks lived off the Pumas' errors, and when the Pumas made mistakes, the Sharks made them pay for that. And you have to do that as a good side. And the Sharks had to respond after last weekend because they were very poor, and they did. And they were much, much better today. I thought the pack really pitched up. The back line got going. It took a while for it to get going, and I think still has a lot to work on. But, yeah, I think credit to the Sharks pack, who really did provide a very solid platform. But it's just poor decision-making from the Pumas players at stage. Sometimes just kicking the ball away. When you play against the likes of Kerwin Bosch and Madosh Tambwe, and even Soneta Mahamba and Mani Libok, they always go, and Spoon Corsi, they're going to be very, very good in open play and in broken down play. And I think the Pumas, in the early stages of the game particularly, were guilty of kicking away possession and allowing them to sort of play in a very loose game, which the Sharks these days suit. They've got some players with some very good skill sets. So if you look at the players that stood out, look, Albert Kondia I thought was fantastic. He scored a brilliant try where he managed to sort of keep fend off Lukanya and go over. He scored 2 tries. Devin Williams was a lot of energy again, but sometimes just his decision-making letting him down. Neil Moritz as well, very hard-working, but didn't get the chance to get much into the game today. I thought somebody who continues to be very impressive for the Pumas was Jean-Andre Rudolph, who I think made 7 carries today. He was their top tackler. He works very, very hard, and I think credit needs to go to him, because every week in, week out he has been very consistent. But Madosh Tambwe came into the lineup today, scored a try, but he ran 132 meters with the ball. he was very, very good. And I mean, the wings in particular, Spoon Corsi also managed to have two defenders beaten, three clean breaks, and so the backline was getting going. I think the backline has a lot more to offer because I think they'll admit it that they can do more. Cohen Bosch was very impressive. I think he will probably scoop man of the match. Kicked very well, and was quite good in that it was a very open game, but he managed to manage it quite well, which we haven't seen before with the Sharks. I think that was the issue against Lions 2 weeks ago. The reason the Lions, and to be fair, the Pumas almost managed to get back into the game, is game management. I mean, talk about the ability to see out a game, and sometimes the Sharks have sort of been a bit lacking on that respect. But yeah, I mean, as I said, if you look at sort of the defense, just so many missed tackles. You look at the Pumas here, and there's just lots and lots of missed tackles there. As I said, Jean Rudolph, I think, was fantastic. Made 10 tackles, 4 turnovers, 1. He was very, very good. For the Sharks, Pepsi Buthelezi was very hardworking. Dan Euster, credit to him, the Sharks line was very poor last weekend, and as a result, they moved Dylan Richardson to the flank. I thought he was pretty good there, and brought in Dan Euster for I think what was his second match, and it was a fantastic move. I mean, Euster was very, very industrious on defense, but their line was solid. They simplified it. They kept it very basic. They went to the front of the line out, set up some very powerful driving mauls. You saw the backline getting involved. Marius Lowe was involved in these sort of 2 or 3 mauls, and they just realized that at the end of the day, they could try and sort of outmuscle the Pumas, and they did. So yeah, credit to them because that at the end of the day, they needed a result today more than they needed a performance really, because they a loss today would have meant playoffs are suddenly up in the air, but the Sharks got the job done, which is the important part. Pumas will take heart once again because I think they're pretty close to being this level, and you've seen. I mean, you saw the way they responded against the Greek Quiz. You then saw a very good first half performance against the Stormers. But that has always been the Pumas' case. It's always kind of been a Jimmy Stonehouse case. It's a team which has moments where you can sort of see how much they're impressive, and they have moments where you can think that's a really good side. There's some really big positives, but then they just make some basic errors, and unfortunately, that's often what sort of separates the sort of a mid-level team and a top team is the ability to be clinical. And that's where the Pumas fell down today, and the Sharks were very, very good. So credit to them; they got back to winning ways, and they'll take confidence going forward. And I think it'll be one of those matches again where you'll sort of look at certain positives. There will be a couple of negatives to look at. The Sharks can definitely be better at seeing out a game and just maybe a bit more structured in terms of the defense. But yeah, I think they'll be very happy, and Kanye and his team will return and think that that was a result that was important to get, especially on the road again after last weekend. But that's about it. Please do consider subscribing. Bottom right hand corner there, smash like if you enjoyed the video as well. Team of the week coming. There will inevitably be a couple of Sharks players, a couple of decent performances from Pumas players as well. So yeah, please do consider subscribing, smash a like, jump in the comments, let me know what you thought of the game. My name is Stephen Pettit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.